Peace. Happy now. Now's the vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now, been going through, these little energy surges lately. Feeling these little downloads from higher self. And as I'm getting these downloads, because I'm aware when we dealing with, and when I say higher self, also strongly dealing with the ancestors. And when dealing with the ancestors, again, I always bring up that awareness of, you know, uh, making sure we dealing with them in a way that's not hindering our spiritual growth and our soul purpose, and realizing the ancestors, like, are within us, in essence, and not uh, something that's floating around outside of us for the most part. But I want to speak a little bit on Saturn's connection with that energy, the root chakra, but just basically kind of getting into our connection with with the ancestors. I'm gonna speak a little bit about my own situation, to give some insight. But again, I did a video earlier, in which it'll be posted before this video, of course. Where basically, I woke up this morning and again had my own little logical idea of what, how I'm gonna start my day, type of vibe. Then, higher self, an ancestor are like, come this way. And again, and we're dealing with this energy. You want to realize, again, this is internal energies, because the more we externalize any type of energy, the more you will feel like you're doing something for something outside of you. The more that you don't, like, if you don't know that, again, like Papa Legbo Shun, like, if you don't know that that energy is in you, and you deal with it, because of course the altar work is for, that subconscious work in essence. It's like the symbols of dealing with the altar and concentrating energy in a certain area, but it's not actually worshiping, the ancestor. In fact, the thing for me, why I stepped away from Rastafari, it's like I'm not worshiping, and I knew better. I'm like, I vibe with most of everything y'all talking about, but worshiping Haile Selassie, like he, the single God, that's like something I don't resonate with at all. Especially when it comes out of the horse's mouth. And a fellow God letting the other gods know, like, hey, don't worship me. Yeah, I might be whatever, the emperor, this and that, but like, down to the point where he was kind of spooked. What that was for Ground Nation Day when he went to Jamaica, and he was about to get out the plane when he saw all the people, like, just like frantic over this and that. Like, he walked back in the plane. They had to get a Mortimer Plano, Elder Rasta, to go up in the plane and go kind of talk to him and walk him out. But again, back to the point. Again, not worshiping anything outside of us. And let's see. So getting to, or again, let me finish speaking. So I've woke up and got led to these certain books and certain energies. So also I get led to dealing with information with the root chakra and with ancestry and basically like working out karma, but also just being led to information about ancestry. And I realized, how much it is higher self, allowing for me to shine light on the situation to make sure that, again, I'm not dealing with the ancestors in the external way that's allowing for me to be, in essence, controlled by external energies or, certain ideals that's necessarily not mine. And just to get into, so I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna tie it to the Saturn worship later. But Matter of fact, so let's just stay right here. Root chakra is where family wounds are stored. Also, fears, learned experiences, core limiting beliefs that were passed down from parents and ancestors. So, our root chakra work, deals with, that flight or fight mode. But again, the root, the base, the base of the tree, the root of the tree, is that bottom, is what allows for that tree to stand up, you know. But that tree, again, is not just focused on just its roots, It makes sure it has its foundation first and foremost when it, and then it rises, also it's balanced, and it makes sure the root is kept healthy, but it's also growing higher and higher into those other chakras, in essence. But again, the root chakra deals with our family, because also, say for instance, the first chakra is governed by whether you receive unconditional love and affection during the first 3 years of your life and prenatally. As a matter of fact, kind of coming with some information from this chakra book. So, like asking yourself questions like this, will kind of help you to, kind of analyze or assess the situation. But did your parents want you? Was it, expected, or was it like, oh damn, we done had a kid, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of energy. Did your father or mother want a boy and you turned out to be a girl, or vice versa? Did your parents speak to you when you were in the womb and stroke your mama's belly and sing to you? When you were born, was your mama awake and excited to see you, or was she giving drugs which made you groggy? Matter of fact, before I even get deeper into this, you see the importance of us having natural births and getting out of these hospitals, and stop dealing with these prescribed poisons. There's no reason for a cesarean section, which I'm gonna get into. There's no reason for all these unnatural ways of dealing with the birth situation. We always dealt with birth in a natural way, and always did great. Like, just look at motherfuckers who was born out of slavery with no hospitals, born in the slave cabin, and came out to be great inventors like Frederick Douglass, and certain beings that seemed like they didn't have a problem with no spiritual connecting and learning, so because they make it seem like, well, you need these vaccines and these poisons, and we got to do this, and it's precaution. Now that became that's procedure and shit, because y'all implementing this shit in an unnatural way, so now y'all making it something, well, yeah, it's become, but nah, it never was the the natural way of our being, or the birth process in that sense. All right, but back to the question. Were you gently cleaned and then placed in your mama's arms to be suckled? Or were you slapped on the butt, handled roughly, and taken away from your mother, and put in the little thing where they have all the babies at, again, and this is spiritual warfare. They make it seem like, oh, well, this is the healthy thing to do. And it's just like it's pawns in the situation. Some doctors know what the fuck going on, some don't. Some just, oh, I'm doing what we were taught. I learned this in medical school, and this and that. This is the best medical school in the nation. But not considering that your medical school and the things you're being taught come from a European that doesn't do things in a natural way. So as much as you're speaking on what you're taught and learned from school, it's still not embracing, the natural way of doing things. And again, by ignorance or by forcefully doing it, again, when we born in a hospital, they slap the baby on the butt, like it's to just create some type of situation to just constantly throw off our energy, you know what I'm saying? Like even being born in a building with nothing but metal and electronics all around you, So again, I'm gonna start from there again. Were you slapped on the butt, handled roughly, and taken away from your mother at birth? Were you able to gaze into the eyes of loving parents, family, and friends, or were you handled by doctors and nurses who didn't really care much about you? Again, the importance of the midwives, and matter of fact, malachite, a good crystal for midwifing. malachite copper energy connecting to the matter of fact to the sexual organs and the female energy in general. So when the circumstances of your mother's pregnancy and birth are loving, then you are likely to have a strong first chakra. If you receive unconditional love and affection from your parents and our grandparents, you will enjoy being in your body, so it will be easy for you to get grounded. Matter of fact, I think about being grounded and having this connection, to this strong loving connection with family. And I think about the story of Caesar, with the cesarean section. We call it cesarean section because he was it was said that Caesar was born in that manner. And Dan Winters always make a joke about the reason why he was savaging. Matter of fact, because he even, like, one place he was fighting some people who were in essence his like ancestors or something like that. Not say his ancestors, but like it was a part of his lineage. Like some of the people who he was fighting against and battling against were also a part of like his lineage, almost like his elders in essence. And he even went against them. But that again, it was more so not having that fractality. That because say for instance coming out of the vaginal canal, it's like being squirted through the like being in the Taurus field, you know, and we get that fractality and that certain energy when we come out of that birth canal naturally. It's almost like too a teaching of how we, to a certain extent, you can say leave and come into this earthly plane, like, going through tunnel, you know what I'm saying, like going through the holes, going through the black hole, or going through the black hole in the heart of the sun. But it's all about, again, like going through that birth canal. So I know for myself, in which with souls choosing the way things play out, I know I had a choice in, that cesarean section, aka that C-section. Again, because I have some type of karmic debt I'm working out, and just we pick these certain ways to go about things to, again, to learn different lessons. In a past life I dealt with certain certain level of lessons, and then I graduated, and now in this, and still had some more to grow, and now I'm in this life continuously transmuting karma that's still left. So again, I didn't get that fractal energy from passing through the womb. And again, even so going back to the thing, some children find real comfort in companions or fairies who are invisible to the grown-ups. And matter of fact, with that being said too, like the root chakra in our in the beginning of our upbringing is where the shadow self is built. Because at the beginning, when we first coming up, is when we first taught the detrimental again, but it was meant for us to go through the situation, but the right and wrong, good and bad, desired behavior and undesired behavior. So if your parents say this is undesired behavior, you kind of creates that little template. So you're gonna be scared to deal with that, or you're gonna fear it, or if you do it, you're gonna be shamed about yourself or feeling guilty. You know what I'm saying? So that's where basically our shadows is built from. And this is not in no way, form, or fashion blaming the parents, because we had a choice. Memories of Heaven, or Memoirs of Heaven, I think it's Memories of Heaven by Dwayne Dwyer, where it's like different little quotes from like little kids, not say quotes from little kids, but like, or should I say just stories of like children remembering being picking their parents and being reincarnated beings basically. But again, so with that, why I just brought up that too, some children find real comfort in companions or fairies who are invisible, because that's where it started. Quit faking around. Oh, that's just fake. Stop talking about that fairy. You ain't really seeing no fairy. So that right there again, beginning like root chakra shaping how you gonna go about your growth from that point on. Now you're gonna start shutting down your intuition and shutting down, like basically almost like shutting down your pineal gland, and bringing your metaphysical extrasensory perception awareness to, almost to eliminate it. Because another thing too, just like from the cyclomancy book, like like with dementia, like what it was, like not dementia, but basically like a certain psychosis where the soldiers were creating a condition just by like overly, you know, how can I say, I don't want to, and maybe it's meant for me. I don't know, when I have these little moments, I be wondering if I'm trying to do too much or what. But and I'll probably come back to it. I was talking about some children find real comfort in companions of fairies. And I was talking about what it is, us being controlled from that beginning stage. But I went into something else. Oh, I'll come back to that. If you did not receive love and affection as a child, you may develop excessive energy at the first chakra, constantly demanding attention and trying to fill your emptiness with material possessions. You know, so that's also, if we got that sign, if we like always demanding attention, or we feel like we could fill up our emptiness with material possessions, that's also a sign of the throwing off root chakra. And again, you see where it starts with energies. This is energies within our body, and with a chakra, even though you can't see, like, so say for instance, if we was to cut open our bodies, we can't see the chakras, but they do exist. Just like my thoughts and what I'm speaking on exist, so my visualizations exist, but if you was to cut open my brain, you wouldn't find them. You know what I'm saying? Same thing like with TV. Like if you're playing San Andreas or watching a football game, but if you cut your TV open, you're not gonna find a bunch of people playing football. You know what I'm saying? Whatever game you're playing, you're not gonna see it in there. These are energies within the body. Just like, again, just like light energies, just like the light energy image of something on your TV screen or in your visualizations. But so again, if you did not receive love and affection as a child, you may develop excess energy at the first chakra, constantly demanding attention and trying to fill your emptiness with material possessions. Or you may have deficient energy at the first chakra and feel ineffectual and unable to take an interest in life. And again, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, if you got a problem, the first step is to recognize it. People who still, oh, I just drink, they drinking and going in, and feel like, oh, I ain't got no problem, like being kind of in essence being stubborn, not wanting to acknowledge what's really going on. So if you're going through these things, like where you find out, because again, if you're in your ego and you find out like that like you kind of see that you're doing things to demand attention. Like if you're in your ego, you're gonna be in denial by like, oh no, man, I don't think I'm doing that or this and that. Instead of saying, well, you know what? It can't hurt to just say, well, maybe I might be doing it. Let me assess the situation and see. That way we could just clear it up regardless. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being stubborn, like, oh, I don't think I'm suffering from that. I don't. Matter of fact, being stubborn, as we talking about the root chakra, could be something that we learn from our parents as well. But again, and I remember when I was talking about with the children dealing with fairies and stuff, and the shadow self being created through us being told, again, what's wrong, what's right, what's favorable behavior and what's unfavorable behavior, And speaking on like with my own situation, I see like the little karmic ties. Matter of fact, like with one situation, I remember I did a video about this. And matter of fact, I'm referencing two videos. Because one video, it was a video on, I think, Snowflake Obsidian or Obsidian. and recalling past lives and like asking yourself questions, basically like a guide to how to you know basically kind of somewhat tap into the Akashic records, and see where the karma is coming from, where the karma blockages is coming from in essence. But I also had a video where I had to speak on how I had to sit down and remove some past life energy dealing with so like in past lives living like that monk monastery type of lifestyle. Like matter of fact, I was like a city. How you say it? I don't know if you say it right. Siddha, but the yogic brethrens that wrap up the dreads, and smoke the herb. Matter of fact, and I speak on too how the extension of there's no coincidence in this universe that they seem almost basically like a roster in essence, but that because the Kush people moved all the way to the basically like to the Indonesia area down there, basically like the Angkor Wat area. So from there to Ethiopia, that's all Kushites, regardless of the years passing and all the mixed breeding and then other people coming in and saying, well, no, you Indian, you this, you that, you know what I'm saying? Before that, and even still with all that, it's still a connection regardless, It's almost like how parents used to tell us, like when we'd get mad at our cousin, like, oh, you're not my cousin no more. It's like you can't just speak that into existence. The blood that run through you and your cousin veins still gonna be of a close heritage, regardless if you want to deny it or not. But again, so for myself, and with that past life, so I had to sit there, and because I had that past life of being like a person feeling like spirituality, you had to have, I can't say poor, but you had to have like little to nothing. Like you had to basically give up all material possessions in order to be spiritual. Like I had that locked down mind frame, within my being. So I had to work that out of myself, and something told me, it's like that's the energy, part of the energy that's hindering you in that area. You're dealing with manifesting certain things, is dealing with again feeling like the way to spirituality is through being like basically like poor, or not having abundance of sustenance, abundance of energy. Because revenue, or what they call money, is a currency. It's an energy. You think about the current running through a wire, that's energy. But so also again with my situation, on my own journey, transmuting energy from my father mostly, because it's kind of partially a family thing, but kind of stems, I get the essence that it stems mostly from him. But like with being tight and not spending money on things that I love and truly and that being tight and not spending money on things that I love and things that would truly benefit me, you know what I'm saying? Because I think about like just certain situations where I saw that daddy spent money in areas that's like, well, how that's gonna help us, or how that's going, you know what I'm saying? It's like in certain areas that wasn't beneficial, and then when it was time to use that money in a beneficial area, it wasn't around, in essence, to a certain extent. So dealing with that vibe, and what happened was I did I was working out that energy. Matter of fact, at the beginning of my awakening, while I was still in Baton Rouge, I got to a place of realizing. Matter of fact, and after doing that little exercise, that visualization of removing that monastery, be poor mind frame to be spiritual, getting that out of me, I started to get to a place of spending money. Like if I saw a book and I like it, I wasn't like, cause say for instance too, like what I mean by that, like not spending money in beneficial ways, like I really love, like I was awakening, really loving to read and deal with knowledge and crystals. So instead of, say for instance, spending that money, like say for instance, I could have spent all my money on just herb, like just bought all herb and then said to hell with books, to hell with, what I'm saying. So like that's the energy, like with, almost like prioritizing, you know, where you put your revenue to a certain extent, you know. But over time, I allowed myself to let my guard down on in my spiritual practice and kind of reactivated that energy. So I'm, transmuting it again, because it wasn't. And two, I feel like it wasn't fully transmuted if it was allowed to well, to a certain extent, because sometimes again you could transmute and deactivate energy, but then if you're going around again certain energies, again, that's why it's about us keeping it real about our energy and not just trying to be nice and go around people who may be hindering to our growth, And I got to that stage where I had to learn. So basically that's where it happened at. Like it got reactivated because I was being like that vibe of being nice or feeling like I had to help everybody. So I would kind of like not really, like I got a little too loose on vibing any and everywhere to a certain extent, and so that invited certain energies to attach themselves to my chakras and back trying to work out that energy. So as much as we don't want to become a vibrational snob and run from everybody, because that don't help anything. But you definitely do want to have awareness to not just throw yourself to the wolves either, as far as on an energetic level. And so some other karmic energies that I picked up, that I got from my family now. And again, when I say family and ancestral line, again, knowing that all this is again internal energy, karmic debts that we signed up for, because another thing too I brought up in the other video about like dealing with family and like your quote unquote blood family is just like souls from your bloodline ancestry that y'all kind of like as souls also dealing with common karma, you know what I'm saying, like in essence, in which I'm gonna kind of speak to that as well. Matter of fact, speaking of that, so the common karma debt amongst mostly all melanated beings in America is that I ain't never had shit, slave mentality, so you kind of spend money reckless. Matter of fact, kind of back to, again, what I just spoke of with dealing with my father, with that energy inherited from my father, dealing with prioritizing money. Matter of fact, and then I think about how I brought up, I did that video on alienation and how alienation parallels, basically like the aliens is paralleling the story of melanated people. And like on one scene in the movie, the wife kind of got on the husband. She was like, you're spending money left and right on miscellaneous things that we can't even use. Like we got a trampoline and you ain't never jumped on it. She's like, you're suffering from post-traumatic slave stress. You're buying things and all these material things to make up for the things we never had while we were slaves, So that, again, mostly all, melanated beings within America is working through that energy right there. Like that's one of our little karmic debts as a whole. Again, that's some group karma right there. Then I think about my family again, us picking our parents, picking our family situation. And more so when I say picking, I also feel like we use the word picking for lack of a better word, but it's like, we kind of already been chose, and so we just kind of been, following each other through lifetimes to a certain extent. Cause say for instance, at one time, my mom actually was like we had a reverse role where I was her parent and she was my child, so you have these situations as well. But also, again, well, no, never mind. And so with with my family situation, again, one side of the family, kind of grew up where it's like about at least 14 to 16 children, you know, not necessarily all in the house at one time because it's a big age range. So some was getting out of the house, but some still up. But uh, that type of little close knit but big family, but all kind of living in one little house, and the funds wasn't very substantial, so you had to make the best out of what you had. And that mentality, making the best, basically like that don't throw away that, we could still use that vibe, instead of knowing that it is your divine right to prosper infinitely, and that you deserve any and everything, you know what I'm saying? But again, karmic issue with the family of that vibe again, like get the cheapest, most affordable thing, using less. It's like instead of buying something new and fresh, like, oh no, fix that up or this and that, or don't throw that away, we could probably do this with it or do that, you know what I'm saying? In which it helps to be practical in those ways, because again, when we talk about integrating and balancing energy, spending revenue, but also managing it in a type of way where you're just not like again, like it has like a integration and a balance within it. Because there's some things to be practical about with dealing with your money, with your revenue, your funds, your abundance, however you want to say it. And then on the other side of my family, my father's side, matter of fact, they own a funeral home. My great grandmother came from New Orleans, moved to Opelousas, started Williams Funeral Home. Matter of fact, been here, still here since then. But that family having a little fun. My dad was they was kind of known somewhat like the the people that had money, this and that. But the other side to dealing with them was like a situation with having abundance, but then being a little tight, you know what I'm saying? And I think about my grandmother. First thing that come to mind when I think about, because I always laugh at that, when my grandmother had a dog, I forgot what kind of dog it was. Matter of fact, that's one of the oldest dogs I witnessed. Like, that dog lived through my childhood up until I was almost in college. Like, that dog lived a long ass time. But long story short, when Sassy, that's the dog name, when Sassy had a little something on her, and she kind of looked like she needed to go to the vet. So it's like, mommy, I might want to take Sassy to the vet, And my grandmother was like, who gonna pay for that? Mind you, because matter of fact, my grandmother, so the funeral home started by my great grandmother, and then she passed it down to my grandfather, and then my grandfather married my grandmother, and then as my grandfather passed away, my grandmother kind of inherited to a certain extent, which it got passed down to my uncles and my dad, but my grandmother inherited something from outside of her family to a certain extent. But here it is where she got the bread to to bring the dog to the vet, and she like, who gonna pay for that? It's like, damn. So is that those two situations, is karmic debt that I've seen myself go through, and I know where I see where it stems from as well. And again, in order to help fix a situation, you got to be aware of it and acknowledge it and know that you got to work through it. So also, another one that I wrote to the side: a lack of belief in metaphysical abilities. I'm for whatever reason, whatever lessons I chose to learn, I chose a family that that wasn't dealing with and I see too, resistance makes stronger, because I didn't have that that knowledge of metaphysical abilities and occult and esoteric knowledge coming up. Is like resistance makes stronger. you know, it just made me stronger in, you know, the drive in getting the information and dealing with it, you know. And compared to if I would have just made it easy, I probably or had a life where I went through it, I could have been dealing with the metaphysical information and thought it was, probably got bored of it and drifted off somewhere or something like that. You know, you never know, but you never know. But again, that's another thing that comes from my family lineage, because even though my great grandfather on my mom's side, you know, was a Haitian from Haiti, you know, none of my close relatives on either side, you know, matter of fact, for sure, not on my dad's side, because that was Catholic, like, you know, anything dealing with voodoo or metaphysical or any of that was like, you know, the devil, basically. You know, so also dealing with, you know, with that issue, and again, this is all dealing with the root chakra as well. And and another hindering situation, keeping family so close that you don't allow yourself to do what you love to the fullest. You know, and I see the karmic debt within the family, you know, where certain people in the family, where I know they have a certain love for something and have a certain ability, but they just kind of coasted it with that vibe of, let me just stay close to family because mama taught me to stay close to family, and regardless of, you know, what my soul really wants, we gotta, you know, stay close to home and not leave, and you know what I'm saying. And again, nothing wrong with keeping our strong connection with family, you know, like in just in general, just keeping, ain't nothing wrong with connecting with family, but again, it's like a integration of balance, you know. Like, of course, you know, you're dealing with your family, staying connected with your family, but not to a point of where you're hindering your spiritual growth and soul ascension and stopping yourself from dealing with your soul purpose, you know. Because to a certain extent, that's why I find myself back here now, is, you know, working out that energy, you know. uh, so again, uh, so, and with this being said, experiencing repeated patterns that hinders our path and is preventing us from moving forward in our spiritual growth, all stems from, you know, the ancestors, you know, that ancestral karma, you know, that we should be working through. And we, I always talk about the lesson loop. As a matter of fact, I bring up the lesson loops during psychedelic trips. You know, dealing with psychedelics. You know, you got like a lesson loop where a certain lesson is being brought to your face, and if you don't catch it within a few seconds, and be real, I ain't gonna lie, not even a few seconds, it just kind of keeps knocking at the door. You know, I think about I said that in one of my videos. So basically, I was, you know, I was on my journey. You know, again with the acid, you know, outside of the brainwashing and mind control that we know to be true dealing with MK Ultra. You know, it does have a effect of like breaking down the layers of you know, the certain patterns that are hindering you from your growth, and like certain ways that, like, where your ego may be hindering you from your growth, because it came apart. Like, so another thing too, when you connect it, again, it's like a telepathy, where, and I ain't say telepathy, it's like you know, source really shows you the synchronicity of how people don't just say anything for any reason like it's meant, but basically like you know, because I'm going through that lesson, so my internals is manifesting the external situation with my brethren. So basically, I'm being checked about my ego, and so externally it manifests into my brethren's, kind of like, in which they know I'm you know, dealing with the acids, and they know how the lessons go with it. So they like you know, like, oh man, that's some. My brother was like, oh man, that's some nice braces you got there, man. How much they cost, and this and that. Oh man, it's pretty, this and that. But basically, it's like trying to push the button to get my ego to be like, well, you know, I'm the, this and that, you know what I'm saying? And to put it on Broad Street, to see that could be like a hindering place where you might have like too much of a little pride, or you might be too like pursuing your jewelry situation with like worrying about the money too much and about how pretty it looks and stuff like that, and not the energy. So it was like checking that situation, So again, we go through these little lesson loops, until we get the picture. Like, all right, damn, this old, hindering energy, this karmic energy, you know, from family, or from a past life. Matter of fact, and speaking of that, so we could go about, and I spoke on this in that video. I think it's Snowflake Obsidian, or Snowflake Obsidian. I talked about connecting, or bringing up, asking questions to find out, what happened in the past life, to help, again, because we deal with the past when it has relevance to our now, So if we're going through something right now that has to do with some past issues, we have to, tap into that past to see what's going on, and to actually see like what is the problem. So, we could open up the Akashic records and ask for help to become aware of the hindering thought forms, patterns, or energy that is inherited from ancestors, And again, like, use a crystal, or again, just intention. The crystal helps amplify it, but again, we are, every technology you see around you is to mimic you, you know what I'm saying? Even if it comes from you could say to a certain extent, even if it comes from Earth, quote unquote Earth, it's still like, we are the technology. So as much as I'm talking about using this crystal, you don't need any crystal to do this type of work, or you don't need no crystal to do any type of work at all. The only crystal you need is your crystal. Like, you activate the crystal within you, and you're all good. So basically, again, yeah, we could open up the Akashic records, to become more aware of what thought forms, patterns, and what hindering thought forms, patterns, and energies were inherited from our ancestors, because basically that's why I'm as I'm still working through it, of course, but that's why I'm able to speak on which situations, I know, because I, done ask, because again, ask it and you shall receive. Matter of fact, I'm not going to tap into this whole video, but I think about, man, I probably done lost a little verse. Gotta go back to it. But it was man, I'm just speaking on like oh wait. Give me 1 second. But basically it's a Bible verse just speaking on how how we control things with our minds, in essence. Like, ye ask it and ye shall get an answer. Ye knock it at the door and the door shall open. You know what I'm saying? It's like we are, source energy on a human experience. If you're dealing with some type of thing, ask higher self, like, what's going on, And if it's hard for you to do this, then you got to start at square one, opening your pineal gland, eating healthy, meditating, to clear out that egoic mind and that extra noise, But that's the whole situation. And matter of fact, as we, finding out what, what thought forms, patterns, and energies we inherited from the ancestors, we don't judge that inherited pattern. We make peace with the past, you know what I'm saying? Forgiving and sending love to, like, to that ancestral energy, so to speak, to the ancestors in yourself. Because again, this is all energies that in essence one and the same. Cause matter of fact, like being mad and angry, so like you find out like, I got a gambling problem because of, such and such in the past. It's like being mad, like, oh man, I'm like this because of my mama or this and that. And again, it's not because of nothing but you. Everything is externally is a manifestation of, your internal energy, your soul energy, and all situations you're dealing with is situations that you picked out for yourself to go through. That's why, again, when we going through things, when you have that higher knowledge, you raise your vibration because you never get mad or, you know, and when I say never get mad at all, I don't mean never get mad at all. I'm talking about like with, you know, never get mad with basically not getting mad and angry with yourself, but basically, oh, again, that's what I'm talking about, inheriting a pattern. So like if I inherited gambling or whatever, it's like being mad at, or trying to be mad at my higher self or ancestors. That's not gonna help that. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna transmute that energy. What's gonna transmute that energy is acceptance. Even down to like with the situation with racism, it's like racist people are like little children. You know what I'm saying? Like don't feel like you up against them or it's like send them love. Because that's the people who are angry are the people who need the biggest hugs. And this is not that turn of the cheek talk, but at the same time, again, we are a higher we are of a higher consciousness, and just like like source is not interfering in our life in some type of manner, like on an egotistical manner, like because it's of a higher intelligence, same way as above so below on this planet. Like say for instance, like since I know better now, I don't just go around jumping on ant piles and and killing roaches or doing that, like doing that type of stuff, because I have a higher intelligence and awareness. So like if an ant bit me or did something like that, I'll just try to pluck it off, man. I'm not gonna like kill it. Like I know better. That ant, I might have, well, not might have, somewhere in some way, form, or fashion, I attracted that ant biting me. So why would I get mad at that ant? You know what I'm saying? And get mad at that ant, it's not going to fix the situation. So that's another thing to it as well. But also with a little connection with this 7 energy again, ancestral healing benefits everyone in the family lineage, 7 generations back and 7 generations ahead. So basically the energy that we working off right now gonna benefit the generations to come in our lineage. Because again, look at how it's passed down. So what I'm doing right now is key and important to my future. That's part of the reason I might have said it in a few older videos when I first started about like the reason why I feel like I may have not had a child yet. As far as bringing a young little universal, aka a young little Carl Ray into this world, or Carla. but reason being, again, because it's like I feel like it's more so me, somewhat of that perfectionist vibe to a certain extent, but it is like getting things up to a certain place before I start that lineage in essence. And not to say that I'm in a bad off place right now, but there is definitely some more work to do, especially in the root chakra area. But basically, again, don't judge the inherited pattern that you made. After you find out, tap into the Akashic. Find out what's been hindering the family for years and this and that, or what's been hindering you in your past lives. Which to a certain extent still that connection. Again, don't judge that pattern. Make peace with the past. Forgiving. Forgiving yourself in the moment for dealing with that energy, and forgiving ancestors, before us. sending that love. Cause again, working out karmic energy like we all go through it. That's another thing. As you're going through it, that's why it's no blueprint to, oh, you should be right here on your spiritual growth, or you should be right here, you should, like, nah, you are where you are, you know what I'm saying? Just continuously grow from where you at, because we have this idea when we looking to the side, trying to see what's on somebody else's little sheet, in the class, we ain't studied for the test, so we trying to study, and then matter of fact, and the teacher started doing that shit where the teacher started giving people different tests. So it's like, oh, like shit, you copying A, B, 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 but that's all different questions on their tests. Matter of fact, that's a good analogy. How what the teachers did start doing, because at first, for the most part, everybody had the same test, but that shit, and I don't know if that's a school system there or whatever, or as I got older, teachers got hip or whatever, but they started making these little different and matter of fact, I just caught the download that the teachers started jocking the blueprint from the old standardized tests, but basically where to a certain extent where people have a different little well, no, I lie. Cause why I feel like, my apologies, because it didn't come from standardized tests. Because when I think about it, standardized tests, for the most part, or maybe I'm thinking about the ACT. Because you had, like, so say for instance in school, and I'm sorry to drift off in this, but like I think about how we had that situation, where everything was the same because everybody would finish their test at the same time. But then I think about, like, with the ACT, I think it was where shit was different. That's what it was, is the ACT. So I'm like, matter of fact, because I keep it real, just now when I'm like, I caught the download about it, but then I thought about it, I'm like, well, shit, no, in elementary, all that shit was the same. But I'm like, oh, the download I caught was from dealing with the ACT. The ACT, they would kind of give us out, different little pamphlets to a certain extent, and have, different people in different rooms and all this type of little vibe. But again, but the same thing for us, it's like we all working our karmic energy at our own pace. We all gotta go through it at some point in time, so it's never like, oh, I shouldn't be going through this right now, or I'm too old to be still working out karmic energy. I'm too young to still, like, you where you are, like, for a reason. All of us. Matter of fact, and just to kind of again, where we speaking about the root chakra, like everything, this whole ancestral energy, matter of fact, when we think about Saturn represents the authority, the discipline, the hard work, labor, and commitment. It also is about guilt, resistance, and delay. I think about guilt, matter of fact, Saturn also deals with that Capricorn energy. Matter of fact, because I seen, like, again, like that, I see that blended energy, that Sag, that philosopher, like, just mind, just like taking it in, and that Saturn energy having me deal with, that the ancestor connection. Matter of fact, the Saturn energy, matter of fact, just brought up Set, and Set that primordial God, because in essence, Saturn, or Kronos, in the Greek mythology, Kronos was a Titan, like an elder, god, and fathered a lot of other gods, And same thing with Set. Set is a primordial god as well. But again, Saturn represents authority, when we talk about authority, like who we hold as authority figures, our parents, grandparents, people, that's elder than us in the family, and what our parents do, discipline, so it's all tied to that Saturn energy. And just a few little insights that I got. Saturn is in our birth chart. Oh, wait, let's see. Saturn in our birth chart is where we feel most inadequate at. So basically, like our Achilles heel, you know, well, basically, it's that voice that says you'll never be good at that. You know, it's our inner critic. Matter of fact, I always bring up that energy, compare like to dealing with the Capricorn energy of, like, you know, just being overcritical on yourself. Matter of fact, I always bring up Muhammad Ali or Denzel Washington, but like certain people that's great at what they do and are Capricorns. I think Jim Carrey is a Capricorn as well. But it's like this certain energy, you know, the goat keep climbing up that mountain, going to the top, you know, and you know, that inner critic, like, keep pushing, like, oh man, you still ain't up to par, man. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, you did one video, you could have did 5 videos. You know, like, that voice in essence, you know. So Saturn role again is that authority figure, and Saturn is also here to help us understand that life's lessons are not meant as punishment, but as a learning lesson. So again, you know, when we think, oh man, why so and so had to die, or why my tire went flat, or why this situation, it's because we have these life lessons, you know, for us to learn. I come down here with all the knowledge of source and everything that exists, and I come down here, what is there for me to do? And all of us on this vibe, we all know everything, all look alike, know everything, talk the same, walk the same, you know, everything is you know, structured perfectly. Everything is where the lessons come at, you know what I'm saying? Like, it comes through, you know, again, that resistance. How my muscles get stronger. I want to show y'all my little gun. And then how your muscles get stronger through resistance. You know, you could come stronger, you know, because say for instance, your hand could be on some, like, I mean, or say your hand, I'm saying your hand, but your muscles could be on some shit like, bruh, I don't like working out. That shit hard. That's a struggle. This and that, you know. But then, you know, what's funny is after so long, though, and you see it kind of play out like that. Like, your body, like, you know, might not want to work out when you first, you know, where it's like, nah, man, let's just chill. Let's just, you know, and you make that first step. And it still might be complaining. You know, matter of fact, and as like a personification of your muscles complaining, like your muscles being sore after a nice workout. Matter of fact, because it's been a while, but long story short, again, you know, the muscles might like complain or feel like lifting weights is a resistance and a struggle, but then, you know, come a little later, the muscles kind of see itself in the mirror and like, oh shit, like, man, like, yeah. I guess them, you know what I'm saying? I guess them little reps, you know, and all that resistance, you know, kind of help, you know. So as we go through all these things and then we get to that place, you know, whatever type of blueprint of what we feel our the perfect life for us is, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's like, oh shit, so that's why my book sack got stolen twice in LA. So that's why my auntie transitioned around this time, or why my pops transitioned around this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start to see the lessons in it, and when you have a deeper knowledge of things. So say for knowing we reincarnated beings, so I know that, and knowing that energies, I tap into energies within myself. The ancestors that's transitioned out of the body suits ain't never really going nowhere. You know, their consciousness leaving their body suit, but it's still, you know, still being able to tap into that energy, you know, that energy exists within us. So again, Saturn is here to help us understand that life's lessons are not meant as punishment, but as a learning situation. And we keep repeating the same daily lessons, just like matter of fact, Sisyphus is that little story that, and I forgot like who and what Sisyphus is, but I just remember the little story about they put Sisyphus, so that little picture or that little the guy rolling that rock up the mountain constantly, where his punishment was just to constantly roll that rock up the mountain non-stop, like for all eternity, just pushing that rock up the up that incline. But again, we keep repeating the same daily lessons, just like Sisyphus in mythology. Uh, Again, continuously pushing the rock up the hill, or in the movie Groundhog Day, until one day we learn a different way and we are released. Again, just like a game, you go through that lesson loop. We think about karma, like a karma loop. I think they got something called karma loop, if I ain't mistaken. But anyway, you know, you repeat the same, repeat the same lessons until you pass the test. Matter of fact, that's why I bring up again a video game and how a person who kind of becomes their greatest version to the best of their ability within this matrix is like a high scorer, in a game. So in essence, we gotta again realize these little repeated patterns, and acknowledge what it is that's causing us to repeat these patterns, and work on the energy to fix it. And depending on what type of situation it is, that may vary. And let's see. That's basically it, so, as a matter of fact, I also had this, I wanted to kind of start off the video with this, but it kind of slipped the mind. I guess it's meant for me to come to it right now. But I had to ask myself, so basically kind of like me presenting a question at the beginning of the video, like, am I holding on to the past? Or am I a record keeper, dealing with the Akashic records? And I put record keeper and I got in parentheses scribe, Jehudi, or Toth. Because matter of fact, I think about, again, a lot of us who energies just resonate with just learning, what I'm saying, in general. We're gonna tap into, because when you learn in a lot of books, that's out, in essence, come from the past, for the most part. Because I mean, even down to the technicality that if you go in the bookstore right now, if a book is on the shelf, that mean even if it's new, like this book just dropped, it still was written in the past. Somebody had to sit down, write it, they had to go through the print. You know what I'm saying? So even with a book that is from that was just recently written, still in essence comes from the past. So again, but the key important thing, having awareness and not being scared to check myself on the shit, like, like, are you holding on to the past? Because again, that energy, I could definitely be overwhelmed by that energy. Again, being that Capricorn energy, dealing with Saturn in the root chakra, and being in Louisiana where the roots is like, what I'm saying, strong. So it's definitely, as above, so below, the roots, the foundation. Matter of fact, think about foundation, think about, also, I did a video on the knee chakras, lesser known chakras, and I kind of got into the knee chakras and also talked about the Saturn energy in there as well. But again, you just start to see, as a matter of fact, Saturn is also known as the Lord of Karma. So we talking about dealing with ancestral karma and working that out, and it stems from the root chakra. The root chakra, is also seen again as like the to a certain extent that there's coincides with the Saturn energy, being in our physical nature. Matter of fact, also, also named Chronos, which I brought up earlier, Father Time. Because matter of fact, dealing with Akashic records, that's, and I say time, but like all the records of every and all things that exist over, quote unquote, over the eternity. Let's say it like that. But again, Chronos, Father Time, Lord of Karma, dealing with that situation. Authority figures, so you see how all that coincide with each other. So just again, realize we are experiencing repeating patterns that hinder our path and preventing us from moving forward in our spiritual growth. Maybe coming from the fears and learned experiences and core limited beliefs that were passed down from our parents and ancestors. So definitely want to have that awareness. In order to fix the situation, I got to be aware of the situation, but again, we always constantly growing. There's a being. Matter of fact, there are spirit guides that are learning like how to be spirit guides right now. You know what I'm saying? And even though they vibrating at a higher frequency, because they may be outside of the flesh, it's still lessons that they learn. It's still lessons to be learned on all levels. So which I feel like a spirit guide is almost like, well, no, about that. That's basically it, y'all. Making sure stay on that root chakra work. And matter of fact, again, that's why in psychology, when most of the psychologists, or whatever you call it, psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, and when they trying to figure out, what's what you're dealing with, what's traumatizing you like that, one of the first things that asks is like how your relationship was with your parents. Like growing up as a little kid, how was your mom? How was your dad? How was your living situation? Because again, that root chakra area, the first 3 years, and again, like how they talk about, the first beginning of our upbringing was where we slapped on the butt, and then put into some doctor's arm who don't really give a fuck about us, and then put into a little box away from your mama, or you're born, close to your mom, natural birth, And again, for most of us, in this Babylon, America, we got again this little throwed off upbringing. We got slapped on the ass, handled roughly. Doctors hitting us with these little vaccines and stuff, or you could have been like me. Matter of fact, and I realized too, I even wonder if the doctor, which, like, I know that we play out, again, this whole situation is a play out of which we are co-creating, but it is again a manifestation of what's going on within. But I do feel like maybe that doctor or something, because I think about the way the situation played out, where they were gonna have a regular birth. Well, they so say blame on my dad, but they were gonna have a regular birth. But then my mom said, but when they saw my daddy head, like how big his head was, it like we might want to do a cesarean section. But again, though, like just how they talked her into, you know what I'm saying? But that's that type of shit. That's why we need to start moving more into the indigenous ways of doing things on that level. And again, not to give this stuff too much power over us to like feel like, oh, well, since I was born in a hospital, or since the doctor slapped me on my ass, or since I had a cesarean section, my soul could never, ascend now. Like, no, like, again, these are situations we choose for ourselves. Again, what is that? Saturn here to help us understand that life's lessons are not meant as punishment, but as learning. So, and realizing, again, this is nothing that you cannot, this is something that you can overcome. And that's basically it. That's all I have to say about that. I must have drunk about 15 Dr. Peppers. But that's basically it. Hit the little like button if you like the videos. Also, if you want to support with donations, got the donation link under most of all of my videos. And also, if you're on social media, preferably Instagram, my Instagram is Universal Frequencies. But matter of fact, and thank y'all for y'all love and support all the time as always. Uh, Shout out to the domestic fam. Shout out to the international family. But that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now's the vibrator, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace, peace.